Casey was on her way to work at 7 in the morning. It was a regular day for her as she merged onto Interstate 15 heading north. But after a few minutes, the world outside her car suddenly vanished into an impenetrable white. She squints, trying to see just 2 feet ahead, but everything around her is gray and white. She tries to get out of this blinding cloud, but suddenly hits a wall of cars that appeared out of nowhere. In a daze, she struggles to escape her twisted vehicle, her ears filled with the haunting sounds of crunching metal and the screams of panicked, injured people. More cars keep crashing, adding to the horrifying pileup. Little did she know that there is no way of getting out of this mess. This is not a scene from a dystopian horror movie. This is what happens when you are stuck in a massive wreck caused by superfog. This scenario happened in reality due to a phenomenon called superfog.
More than a dozen people were taken to the hospital today after a pileup in Louisiana involving about 100 cars. And officials say so-called superfog conditions likely played a role.
In a recent tragic event near New Orleans, dense fog combined with smoke from a nearby wildfire created what is known as superfog. It led to severely reduced visibility on Interstate 55. This resulted in a horrifying pileup of approximately 158 vehicles on the road, with at least 7 fatalities and numerous injuries. The fog was so thick that it was described as having a blanket thrown over the windshield, making driving conditions extremely dangerous. But why does this fog form, and why does nobody take serious action against its horrible effects on traffic? You might think of superfog as just a thicker version of the fog you see in a winter morning. But no, it's not what you think it is. Superfog is not just any dense fog. It's a lethal mix of smoke and fog, resulting in visibility dropping to less than 10 feet in some cases. It typically forms when smoke from fires, like those in marshes or from controlled burns, mixes with moist air, especially during cooler, windless mornings. This phenomenon is particularly dangerous because it can appear suddenly, catching drivers off guard. It's like driving down a road and suddenly being engulfed in a blanket of fog so dense that you can't see the hood of your car. And this fog can have fatal consequences that you can't imagine. It has smoke that is filled with particles and moisture from the burning of organic materials like wood and leaves, and it starts mixing with the air. Now, under normal conditions, this smoke would disperse, but superfog requires a specific atmospheric setup to spread everywhere. As the smoke from the fire mixes with fog, it creates a much denser, thicker air mixture, which is called superfog. This combination is particularly dangerous because the smoke particles give the fog a much lower density, allowing it to settle closer to the ground. Since the rising air pollution and forest fires, superfog has caused many deadly incidents, but this time we saw its surprising occurrence in New Orleans. This particular instance of superfog was caused by smoke from nearby marsh fires mixing with the early morning fog. The marsh fires are common in Louisiana and are usually caused by dry conditions and lightning. The smoke from these fires, combined with the moist, cool air, creating a thick, opaque fog that blanketed across the highway. The conditions on Interstate 55 rapidly deteriorated, catching drivers off guard. The dense fog severely limited visibility, making it nearly impossible for motorists to see even a few feet ahead. As a result, vehicles began colliding, leading to a massive chain reaction. The pileup was extensive and severe. It involved 158 vehicles and spanned a significant distance along the interstate. And even the aftermath was more chaotic and devastating than you could imagine. Many vehicles were damaged, some were burnt up, and the highway was littered with debris. Tragically, the incident resulted in at least 7 fatalities and numerous injuries. Emergency services faced considerable challenges in reaching the victims due to the limited visibility and the scale of the pileup. The rescue and recovery efforts were intensive, with many people stranded on the interstate for hours. The severity of the crash raised concerns about the structural integrity of a section of the bridge on I-55, making it necessary to conduct a thorough inspection before it could be reopened. This incident in New Orleans is a stark reminder of the dangers of superfog and the speed with which it can create hazardous driving conditions. Why are we emphasizing the importance of staying safe from superfog? Well, because the New Orleans tragedy is not the first time this fog has caused a disaster. History has shown us numerous catastrophic superfog events. For instance, in the quiet morning of October 1991 in Ochen, a town in the Netherlands, one of the most devastating pileups in superfog's history was seen. On the A15 motorway, a blanket of heavy fog descended, creating an almost impenetrable wall of white. Drivers unable to see more than a few feet ahead were caught off guard. The resulting chaos led to a catastrophic collision involving 150 vehicles. The pileup was not just a crash scene, but also a scene of human tragedy. One life was lost amidst the wreckage, and 64 individuals suffered injuries. On another account, on a seemingly ordinary day in January 2015, residents of Galesburg, Michigan found themselves amidst a nightmare on the road. The dense fog that morning on Interstate 94 near Battle Creek set the stage for a horrific chain of events. Visibility was drastically reduced, and drivers were in a situation beyond their control. A huge pool of 193 vehicles, including both passenger and commercial vehicles, were captured in this trouble. Amidst the confusion and the blaring of horns, one person lost their life and 22 others were rushed to hospitals. The incident served as a harrowing reminder of how quickly conditions can deteriorate on the road during super fog.
Came in Friday after that massive pileup on I-94. Close to 200 cars were involved. One person died. 22 were hospitalized.
Notably, in January 2005, a chilling event in Lansing, Michigan occurred. On Interstate 96, a dense fog enveloped the area, creating unbelievably dangerous driving conditions. Drivers found themselves in a tough situation as the visibility dropped, leading to a massive collision involving about 200 vehicles. The fog acted like a deceptive veil, contributing to the vehicles crashing into each other in a domino effect. The aftermath was grim. 2 people lost their lives, and numerous others were injured. Similarly, in January 2008, a tragic event unfolded on Interstate 4 in Florida. A brush fire nearby played a sinister role in contributing to a dense fog that covered the highway between Tampa and Orlando. Drivers were suddenly caught in a thick fog that made them unable to see outside their cars, leading to a catastrophic pileup of 70 vehicles. The scene was so chaotic that even tractor trailers and a tanker were among the entangled vehicles. Despite the horrific nature of the accident, thankfully the number of casualties did not make it one of the largest in history. Oh, and how can we forget the December 11th, 1990 incident, which marked one of the darkest days in Tennessee's history when a dense fog descended near Calhoun on Interstate 75. The fog originated from settling ponds and steam from a nearby paper mill. It caught drivers by surprise. Reduced to almost zero visibility, the southbound lane of the interstate became the stage for a catastrophic multi-vehicle collision. The pileup involved 99 vehicles and resulted in a heartbreaking toll of 12 deaths and 42 injuries. Witnesses described the fog's sudden arrival as like a blanket thrown over their windshields. However, on a positive note, this disaster led to multiple safety improvements on that section of the interstate and served as a somber reminder of the dangers lurking in sudden weather conditions like this. Well, I'm sure now you understand how dangerous super fog can be, and if you ever get yourself caught in it, you should know how to survive. Unlike Casey, you should take safety measures to be safe from getting stuck in this fog. Here are some genuine safety tips in case you ever encounter super fog. The most effective precaution against the dangers of super fog is simply to avoid driving in it altogether. Super fog creates extremely low visibility conditions, making driving hazardous. If you are aware of super fog warnings or notice its onset, it's best to postpone your travel plans. Staying off the roads during such conditions not only keeps you safe, but also reduces the risk of accidents for others. If driving in super fog is unavoidable, the key is to proceed with very low speed and stay alert. You'll find no visibility outside your car window in such a situation, so your usual driving speed becomes unsafe. Slowing down gives you more time to react to unforeseen obstacles or changes in the traffic flow. Increased caution means you should be hyper aware of your surroundings, including other vehicles, road signs, and changes in road conditions. In super fog conditions, don't ever use high beams. They can reflect off the dense fog, creating a glare that further impairs visibility. Instead, use low beam headlights and fog lights if your vehicle has them. Low beams and fog lights are designed to illuminate the road directly in front of your vehicle without causing glare. Next very important tip is to maintain a greater distance than usual from the vehicle in front of you. This increased space gives you more time to react if the vehicle ahead suddenly stops or crashes into an obstacle. The typical 2-second rule for following distance should be extended to at least 5 seconds or more, depending on the severity of the fog. Now, be careful of taking any sudden stops in this situation. This can lead to chain reaction accidents, as other drivers might not be able to see and react in time. If you need to slow down or stop, do it gradually. Give the drivers behind you more time to notice your moves and respond accordingly. Remember that if at any point you find the visibility too poor to continue driving safely, your best course of action is to pull over. However, do it safely. Move your vehicle as far off the road as possible, ideally in a designated parking area or off-road space. Once you are safely parked, turn on your hazard lights to alert other drivers of your presence. Lastly, before you set out on a journey in your car during unpleasant weather, stay informed about the weather conditions and any traffic jams. Modern technology, like weather apps and GPS navigation systems, can provide real-time updates and warnings about bad conditions like superfog. Watch the news before you leave the house, and you'll surely be safe, or at least more alert. At the end, all we can say is that environmental hazards can be natural, but it also has some connection to the rising pollution around the globe. More importantly, the problem is that our authorities do not take advanced measures to protect people from such horrible incidents. But we can make a change by being aware of how to survive situations like superfog and save ourselves or our fellows. The superfog car pileup in New Orleans serves as a grave reminder of the dangers caused by this natural phenomenon. Let's stay informed, be cautious, and prioritize safety above all during such hazardous conditions.